Namaste. Welcome to the Shaman and the Mermaid. As you can tell, we've been having fun. This is actually take 3. It's Mercury Retrograde, of course it is. And we are here to bring you the astrological weather from new moon to full moon and full moon to new moon. This report is for July 16th through the 31st of July, though we'll extend a little further out with some bigger cycles happening. And I'm going to start off by talking about the astrological weather things that are important in the next 2 weeks, and then we'll delve into really just 2 of the main things, which are the eclipses in the retrograde season. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the take 2. The partial lunar eclipse and the full moon happens Tuesday, July 16th at 12:55 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We won't be able to see it here in Denver, Colorado because the sun is out. Mercury Retrograde, which is an ongoing event, started July 7th and continues through July 31st. And the shadow will continue into mid-August, but Mercury goes direct on July 31st. Hooray! And then Mercury, which has been in the sign of Leo for about a week or so, is going back into the sign of Cancer so that we can have an opportunity to talk about some emotion and intuitive and watery things again. That happens on July 19th. And then Venus will be in opposition to Pluto. Venus is our love, our values, our goddess self, opposite of our soul and our need for transformation. That happens on July 21st. Then the sun, our heart energy, goes into the sign of Leo on July 22nd, and that starts the astrological month of Leo that goes all the way through August 21st. Happy birthday, Leos. Rawr. And gotta keep it happy, huh? And then we have Mercury conjoined Venus. The 2 planets will be together. You'll actually be able to see them in the night sky early in the morning. Mercury and Venus will be together, and that is also a half moon energy. The moon will be halfway through its cycle on the way to new. That's July 24th. And that's an opportunity for, again, emotions and communication and love, expressing love, right? I love you.
Ah.
Mercury and Venus, there you go, conjoined, half moon. And then we have Venus going into the sign of Leo on July 27th. For the past month, it's been a Cancer party, as in the sign of Cancer, and all 5 personal planets have been in Cancer, plus the North Node. That would be the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, and the North Node, all in Cancer, and then everybody leaves except for the Node and goes into Leo in the next month. And then finally we end out our energy report with the new moon. Happens on July 31st, and I bring that up because that's also the day that Mercury goes direct. Yay! All right, and Katrina is going to give you the rundown on retrograde season.
Okay, so we have not only Mercury retrograde, but 5 other planets alongside it retrograde too. So it's a big retrograde season, and that can be just a little bit overwhelming to us. And we might not label it. You might not be sitting at home going, wow, it's retrograde season, that's why I feel a little out of sorts. But if you're feeling out of sorts, probably the reason, or a big reason, could be because of all these planets retrograde, and that's Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, and the dwarf planet Chiron, who we coined the wounded healer, and Mercury. So those are the 6. And we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail about what each of them do when they're in retrograde, what effect that has on us individually or collectively, because that would take a whole lot of time to go into that. But as a clump of them in retrograde, we might feel like we're in a false sense of reality, a little bit like if we had slipped down the rabbit hole and landed in Alice in Wonderland style of kind of weirdness or illusion or false sense, like I said, a false sense of reality. Because the retrogrades seemingly go backwards, they don't. It's an illusion. They look like they're going slower, but they're not. And the reason that I believe the cosmology affects us so deeply is that the universe has given us kind of hey, take a time out and look at things from a different perspective than that chronological, linear thinking that we're always pushing into as individuals and as a collective. That's the way we've been taught. That's the way we go in our time, is checking things off. Everything has to add up. And the retrogrades say, drop that. And take a look at it from a whole different approach, a little bit more organic, a little bit more free form. Step outside of this third dimension and look at it from the fourth and fifth dimensions of our capacity, which I know is very esoteric, but when so many planets are in retrograde together, that esoteric concept almost even makes sense to you, I'm going to guess.
I think so.
All right, good.
Well, retrograde season, it goes all the way through basically October. Chiron goes all the way through December, but it will ease up in August. Jupiter goes direct August 11th, and the rest of the planets turn after that. But we're going to focus now on the actual eclipses. This is eclipse season. We say season because eclipses always come in 2s and sometimes 3s. Always. And they're always 6 months apart. So if eclipses are happening now in July, when will the next eclipses happen?
In 6 months.
6 months. Good answer. Which would be in the sign of Capricorn.
January.
In late December and January is when the next eclipses will happen. These eclipses, the first one was on July 2nd, and that was a total solar eclipse, though we couldn't see it here in Denver, in the sign of
Cancer.
And the one coming up on July 16th is a partial lunar eclipse in the sign of Capricorn. I'm going to break down the Capricorn energy for you, and Katrina's going to talk. Oh, we got some visuals here.
Just take a look at that little goat fish there.
Cenote goat.
Cenote goat. That's the symbol of the Capricorn.
And why a cenote goat? Cenote are the underground water bodies in the Yucatan of Mexico, where we go a lot, but maybe we don't need to go all the way into that.
I call him cenote goat because he's one who has no problem going into these underground caverns full of water that are totally dark, and you don't know how deep they are, and it's like to the bottom of the world as far as I'm concerned. And then the goat factor can climb up to the top of the mountain. So they have that split body of goat fish, and they can go to both ends of the world.
The Capricorn sign is an earth, fixed earth. No, it's a mutable earth sign, meaning it's changeable earth, but it's really deep earth energy. And so Capricorn as a sign, as Katrina says, it wants to know the breadth and depth of something. Capricorn is really associated deeply with the planet Saturn. Saturn and Capricorn relate to time. There's Capricorn.
That's Saturn.
There's Saturn.
Look how stern he looks.
We pulled out our astrology cards for our yoga kids camp last week, and one of them picked up Saturn, different Saturn, but it was like, ooh, that's scary.
Saturn can be scary. Saturn's karma. Saturn lives in Capricorn. Saturn's there right now, and Saturn's retrograde in Capricorn.
We talked about how we had a party in the sign of Cancer moving into Leo. Well, we have a long-term party going on in the sign of Capricorn. Saturn is there for 2.5 years, and Pluto is there for almost 20 years, a little shorter than that. And we also have the south node of the moon in Capricorn for 18 months, and joining very soon will be the moon for the eclipse.
And the full moon at that.
The full moon eclipse. I like our visuals. That's nice. We're high tech, as you can see. We're taking applications for professional videographers at this time. If you're out there, we pay nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Continuing on.
We pay love.
We pay love. So why Capricorn to talk about it this time? Well, I'm going to talk about a cycle of energy that extends out 24 to 26,000 years.
That's a lot of years.
Most of the time we're talking a month or a couple hours or a year or maybe even a decade or a lifetime, but 24 to 26,000 years. Well, what's this all about? There's something called the precession of the equinoxes in Western astrology, and you all know that. You don't know it by that term unless you're an astrologer, but you have definitely heard of the age of Aquarius. Ding, ding, ding. You heard the songs from the 60s, and we wonder when it is here and has it arrived and what's going on. Maybe even heard of the age of Pisces, and before that was the age of Taurus. Well, the precession of the equinox has to do with these longer term astrological clocks. The sun is in the sign of Pisces for a month, and the age of Pisces lasts 2100 years, or 2100 years, give or take a little bit. When the sun goes into a sign or a new season, for example, the sun just went into Cancer on the summer solstice, and that heralds the start of summer. However, it might not feel like summer on the start of solstice. It might rain, or it might be a little cold, or it could be super hot. But when the seasons change, it can take anywhere from a week to a couple weeks for it to feel fully like that season. When we're talking about something, and seasons are 4 months long, when we're talking about astrological ages of thousands of years, it takes upwards of a couple hundred years for that age to fully be feeling like it's here. So the age of Aquarius, our teacher Kaipacha says, likely started at the late 1700s and won't fully feel like it's here until 2100 or a little bit further out, about a 400 to 500 year swath. Anyway, I've gotten a little far afield from Capricorn, but I bring up Capricorn because Capricorn energy has been on this planet for about 6,000 years. Capricorn energy is the patriarchy. Capricorn represents the masculine energy. It represents structure, laws, rules, institutions, religions, countries, banking, all these major energies that are playing out on our planet right now. Now, there's nothing bad or good necessarily about Capricorn energy. Good use of Capricorn energy is truth. It's in right way, it's fulfilling your Dharma, it's getting in alignment with karma, it's doing things that are in the laws of the universe for the highest good of all beings, it's creating structure and resources for children, making schools, clean drinking water. These are all really good uses of Capricorn energy. Bad uses of, misuses of Capricorn energy is suppression, war, repression, control, convince, condemn, tell others, comparison, and it's competition. These are all the things that have been playing out in our planet for 6,000 years, and
yeah, you could put a word for it. I call it the patriarch, and I don't mean it to sound like coming from a real feminist perspective. That's not it at all. It's just the patriarchy has been what has been holding the energy for that 6,000 years, and it's been male dominated, and it has been repressing and oppressing and compressing to almost the majority of life in all forms on this planet for the last 6,000 years. A misuse of the Capricorn energy.
And this eclipse coming up right now on the South Node. The South Node is the point in the sky where the Sun, the Moon, and the Earth line up, as well as on the North Node that the eclipse happens. Well, the South Node energy, if we're talking spirituality, is where things need to be purified and looked at. So we are asking cosmically at this time that we purify Capricorn energy. And in that eclipse energy, as the moon comes up on the South Node, we have Pluto and Saturn sitting there. We have Pluto and Saturn. So we have Cenote Goat with Pluto and Saturn. Pluto is the energy of the soul for an individual, and it's also the collective energy of transformation and evolution on our planet. Wherever Pluto sits astrologically is where things are being asked to transform. Pluto is the same energy of Shiva and Kali, and wanting that deep, powerful transformation energy to happen. Saturn, as we said, has to do with Capricorn, and Saturn wants to make sure things are in alignment with karma. It's the delivery of karma. It can be good or bad. It's trying to get us back on the good path, red road. And this time with Saturn and Pluto and the South Node all there, it's a huge karmic check-in for the planet. and the United States. The United States is returning back to its Pluto home, where it was when we signed the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. Pluto was in the sign of Capricorn at 26 degrees Pluto, somewhere about there, and coming up in 2020, same place, same time, check it out, United States. So that's the side of the Capricorn energy. The eclipse is wanting us to purify and cut these old energies and move forward into some evolution of the heart and emotions. What would that look like?
Well, if you remember, the first eclipse was 2 weeks ago, July 2nd, in the sign of Cancer, a total solar eclipse. And so that's where it kicked off. And Cancer is the crab. If you can see in the bottom of that little picture that has the crab, it's the water sign. It represents home base. It represents our emotions, our emotional body. And it represents a little bit of our childhood or our childlike energy or our inner child. And that's where the eclipse kicked off. So we're coming around for it to kind of close the portal of that particular eclipse here on Tuesday, July 16th. And these last 2 weeks, we've been asked to take a look at what we would like to put into that kind of portal hole. I'd like to think of it as just offering it out and letting it go, or doing that eclipse or clipping or cutting energy. And it's looking at the things that we've been repressing and compressing and oppressing, like that Capricorn energy has been in for the last 6,000 years. And opposite of the wheel, Cancer is on the opposite side of Capricorn. So it's saying our emotions have been repressed. We haven't learned how to be an emotionally intelligent, emotionally mature person in our humanity. We've learned how to build skyscrapers, and we've learned how to make satellites and spaceships and airplanes, and we've got industrial revolution, and I've had the technology revolution, but we have not had an emotional revolution. And that is where we're at right now, is learning how to be our emotional selves in right way. When we have emotions, of course we've had emotions prior to this, but we haven't been in right way with them. We either press them down because of that heavy hand of the patriarch for so long that we haven't expressed how we're feeling, and we just pretend it's not there, and we've been living in this illusion that everything is okay, when really internally something has been gnawing at our craw this whole time. Or we've been putting it outward in a very defensive, aggressive form, where we snap and we throw shoes across the room, or we blow up countries with nuclear bombs.
Mars.
Very Mars-like energy. We haven't tuned into our Venus energy. In fact, our Venus energy has been asked to be quiet. We burned them at stakes. We hung them. We made that slither out of the garden. We made all of the Venus energy pretty much go away. Anyone who was intuitive, even go back 20 years ago, if you were a psychic palm reader, you were a weirdo. And now if you're a psychic palm reader, you are sought after and you are highly revered. And it's been like pushing that intuitive piece to make it seem insignificant. Because if we tap into our intuitive abilities, we would rise up naturally because it's intuitive. So it would be natural for us to rise up against some of this oppression that we've been facing for so long.
Uh-oh.
So now we're looking to change that, and we all feel it. We all feel it intuitively that this is happening, but we don't have a role model or a game plan or really any kind of design of how to be handling things going forward in right way. We just know we want to do it with love. We know that, and that is it. And that's where Venus is coming right there into Cancer, saddling up to the sun, which is a very masculine energy. Venus is coming right up next to the sun. I've got a little Venus. Look at how
Sorry, I should have been
loving
on
she
there.
looks. And then here's the
They're
sun.
in Cancer.
And they're all in the sign of Cancer together, the emotional water house. And then here comes Mercury back from Leo. He's going retrograde, and he's going to come up here. Here's the communicator. And then we have our outward expression of self, the sun, and our loving kindness, all in our emotional house. And then we're saying, hey, let's communicate love with positive expression and emotional maturity, and not feel like I can't talk about what is in my heart, or I can't tell you what I'm really feeling about this certain situation because it might upset you, and I'm not supposed to do that. Well, we don't want to ever hurt anybody. That's not intuitive either. That's not an intrinsic way. But we feel like if we say it, we're going to hurt them, and there's no recourse. And I feel that we need to learn not only to express our emotions in a mature way, but to receive emotions being brought to us in a mature way. So our reaction to when something comes at us, we don't take it personally. Like the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, and don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. Do your very best and be impeccable with your word. That's kind of the lineup of what's going on in Cancer right now, is the 4 agreements. That's how we progress forward, and do it all under the name of love. Because that patriarch on the Capricorn energy that has been handling us for so long has been coming from a place of fear. We have been allowing for these rapes of the earth and the rapes of the people to go on so long because we're fearful of that hand of the patriarch, whether it's in this country or any country. We don't want the big brother to be mad at us, so we quietly obey, and it's going to change. It has to change or we'll implode. The earth is already starting to say, this isn't working anymore. And you can feel the government systems around the world saying, this isn't working anymore. And then that leaves all of us little people to do something, and all of us little people need to do what's intuitive and follow our heart and do the right thing. And the right thing is not hurting people. It's not being aggressive. It's not being greedy. Those are not right way. Right way is sharing and loving and caring and compassion and tenderness and generosity of spirit. And that's where we have to go. That's what this eclipse is for. So take that as the collective, and then funnel or filter that down for you on the individual level. What do you need to do to help bring that force into motion, where we shift out of this kind of linear pragmatic thinking and go into more intuitive global thinking, or cosmic thinking, if you will.
Aho. I like what our friend and astrologer Rick Levine says a lot of times at the end of his report is, act locally, think cosmically.
Yay, yes, sweet Rick Levine. Check him out. Check out our other teacher, Kai Pacha, on Paradigm Astrology. And then we're here every 2 weeks coming at you with the Shaman and the Mermaid reports. Thank you. Have a wonderful eclipse, full moon energy love coming your way from us to you. Namaste.
Namaste.